Good afternoon and welcome to We Believe Digital and We Believe Digital News Break. A little after 5 o'clock on Wednesday, we're glad you're joining us from downtown Jackson, Mississippi. Definitely the heart of the Deep South. So much going on down here and so many stories to report on. My name is Chris Young, and alongside me I have the one and only Mr. Socrates Garrett. How are you, good sir?
Chris, I'm doing extremely well. Good to be in the studio with you today.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than this. We're just reminding the folks, we've got a call-in line, 1-800-492-5186. We're continually striving, to be a full-fledged media company here, and we cannot do that without you. So we need your engagement. We need you to participate. We have got podcast shows going on. We have got commercials being filmed out on the streets of Jackson. We have strong connections with the Mississippi Link newspaper. This very month, celebrating 29 years in existence and founded 29 years ago by Mr. Garrett. Still thriving when we see 50% of the newspapers in the United States over the course of the last 15 to 20 years have just disappeared, and we're still going strong here. Have a collaboration with the 16 Bars studio. We work closely with Primestone Media. We've got you covered from every angle to further your interests, your ideas, your visions. Your brand, your products, services, whatever it is, we can find a way through our worldwide audience to get your message out there, and we really look forward to hearing from you. And you can call us at any time. Again, that's 1-800-492-5186. So, Mr. Garrett, kicking it off, I got a couple of things on the broad range here. And I put it down under global because for the first time since 1950, there's going to be no U.S.-born black players in the World Series. The World Series starts up on Friday night between the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies. Lots and lots of Dominican Republic players called up this year, 169 total this year. But isn't that something? There's always been U.S.-born black players in the World Series since 1950, but here we are now all of a sudden with zero, not one.
I can't imagine that. Yeah. That's very, very shocking.
Yeah, I know they put in the Dominican Republic, they just eat, sleep, and breathe baseball, but they're not the only ones. So it's just hard to believe.
Well, there's got to be a problem with how we are carrying baseball in our school systems and in our universities. Mm-hmm. It's got to be that we don't have Little League baseball in the urban cities.
Right.
And come to think about it, I don't recall a baseball game at the high school level or junior high.
Inside the city.
Inside of the city.
Yeah.
Do you?
Honestly, I don't. But again, my only being down here 19 months, I'm not an authority on it. But I do feel like I've heard definitely about more of the junior year activities going on in Brandon, in Pearl, in Madison, because I listen to the sports radio quite a lot. And they'll talk about it.
Yeah, if you don't get kids interested in baseball early on, then their chances of making it to the big leagues are really diminished.
No visibility.
No visibility and no basics in terms of the fundamentals. Yeah. You got to be fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
And, in order to be that, you got to work with good coaches.
Yeah.
And so we've had so many black players from Mississippi that went on to play in the National Baseball league. And so this is very, very disappointing, and we probably ought to take a deeper dive into what's causing this, because not having won in either team in the World Series is not a local issue. That is a USA issue.
Right.
And
a setback.
Yeah, we really got to understand that one a little bit better.
Yep. And there's another thing on the more of the global front. You know, we have this war going on in Ukraine, and the Russian president Putin calling up all these reservists. You know, they have conscription over there, and a lot of times you have a certain number of people that are actively involved, and then you have some in the rear. And he's bringing forth these people, and there's videos emerging now. I was looking at videos through the AP earlier this afternoon. Videos emerging of newly mobilized Russian reservists complaining on camera. They know they're being videoed, complaining on camera of cramped and filthy accommodations, toilets overflowing, trash, lack of food and medicine. One video shows men displaying rusty weapons. Man, oh man!
I can't even imagine this, Chris. First of all, when I was in the Army, you know, we didn't worry about toilets.
No.
You know, that was probably the least of our concern, and accommodations. Because when we went out, we may not be back for 60 days.
Right.
And, you know, I always said it does not rain in the Army. It rains on the Army. And we get that straight right up front.
Yeah, right.
And so there will be no complaining. And so I don't know what's going on in Russia, but apparently there's a real pushback against this war.
Yeah, and they don't typically, I mean, you know, they don't allow dissent. I mean, they'll do whatever they could do to keep dissent hushed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, from citizens. But when you start having your military dissent, then, you know, it's kind of hard to shut them down because they're the one with the weapons.
And these folks from the Ukraine, you just get a feeling they don't understand the word quit.
Yeah.
It's not part of their vernacular.
Well, I don't know of many ethnic groups that can be put into indentured servants role or second-class citizenry role or slavery. I don't know of any ethnic group that would tolerate that. And so the Ukrainians are just demonstrating their will to have self-determination and to be free and to exercise their God-given right. And so, I think they're going to fight till the very, very end.
Fight till the end. This be going on for some time now. We switch down a little bit on the national level. You know, here we are in the election season. Got all kinds of things going on, but see, a lot of people are still focused on the last election from 2 years ago. Here we are in these midterm cycle now. But a lot of people still looking backwards at this, you know, and here picked up a story, again, I believe it was from the Associated Press, the Arizona Republican Party asking the Supreme Court of the United States to block phone records from this January 6th committee. So, wow. You know, you do the deed, but you whatever the deeds were, but you don't want the records, you know, no transparency.
No, we have a history of sealing records, you know, when those that we entrust violate the laws. Yeah. And then even when they are indicted and found guilty, we won't know it for 20 years because they sealed the records. Right. It was reminded that all of the records were sealed in the civil rights struggles.
Yes.
The Sovereignty Commission files, you didn't know who was in there. They sealed all of the records. So it's not uncommon for that to happen, Chris, but it's disappointing.
Yeah. I thought the way it was supposed to be is no one is above the law, and one person, one vote. I don't know, basics, but a lot of people run around now that are I almost said a bad word there. They're messing with what we think are the basics, and so many people have died to get us to be able to have the basics.
Well,
and
yeah,
now you got people fiddling with that.
Yeah, well, and I think you need to re-examine the basics, because it may very well be that what you're seeing now has always been there. And it may very well have been the basics. If you go back and read even the Constitution, and you read it thoroughly, there are things in the Constitution that you and I don't subscribe to in the treatment of mankind, especially those of folk of color, where we're less than a man in the Constitution. And I'm reminded, you know, even in the Star Spangled Banner, when the Kaepernick refused to stand and kneel, I had never heard the second verse. So there are things in our foundation
Flawed.
that are flawed.
Yeah.
And if it's flawed in the beginning, in the foundation, Chris, it takes a new writing, or we do it through amendments to correct those things. So I think what you're saying is the fruits of the basic, but we misunderstand the basics.
Right. Took a lot for granted.
Took a lot for granted, and you got to always remember the golden rule, Chris.
That's right.
He with the gold rules.
Rules.
He with the gold writes the laws, establishes the basics. And if you were doing that, Chris, you would establish those basics in your favor so that you could guarantee the continuation of your kind. I just think you would, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so, because it's a different mindset. It's a broader mindset. It's a higher degree of openness today than it was for those people running around with them little wigs on their head and, you know, little booties and all. You know, this is a different. I mean, so many of those people, you know, that signed those documents and all, they were slave holders. You know, that was normal to them. So they, you know, so even though we got independent from Britain, we're still hanging on to a lot of narrow thinking. A lot of, you know, our thinking today is, generally speaking, is far more elevated.
Maybe.
I don't think you'd be unhappy with my rewrite. I'll say that.
Well, and again, I want to clarify for you the term "your kind."
Yeah.
And that is not an ethnic term. That is men of like philosophy.
Yeah.
Folk who think differently.
Yeah.
And so they would write the rules and regulations that apply to a more open, transparent society.
Yeah, I hope so.
If you were able to write it. But you mentioned one thing that I find odd, and you said we're hanging on to some of the caste systems that were created in Britain, and that we're hanging on to a lot of that. And then just this month, Britain has its first Indian descent prime minister.
Yeah.
An Indian, Chris, is the prime minister of England.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Kind of a little conflict there, huh? So they say that he is so wealthy that they don't. Yeah, I've heard it said now these last couple of days that he is so wealthy that they don't think he has any common contact with the average man or woman in Britain. Out of touch, so wealthy. But what about Britain's rule in India? What about the heavy hand that they've had in India for so long? Isn't that it?
It's confused. It's very confusing. Yeah. It's very confusing, Chris.
Yeah.
And so either it is a real breakthrough or it is a trap.
Yeah.
And I can't tell which is which.
Yeah.
My first thought is that it was akin to Barack Obama being president in America. Now you have an Indian that's president or prime minister in England. And I said, maybe there is some progress here.
After they just ran the very first female, not the first, but after they ran that female out of there in just a couple of weeks.
I think she lasted 6 months, but you know, she didn't last long, and of course the fellow in front of her didn't last long either. I think he got caught up in some sexual scandals, but you know, it's just turmoil at the highest level.
Yeah. Before we go to a break, you know, I know you won't be shocked to hear, reading about some rifts in the GOP, prominent Republicans warning that Trump should not run again. Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, former governor down there in Florida of the famous Bush family, Jeb Bush, even Mike Pence saying, well, you know, smiling, saying, well, I think I'm thinking there'll be other people that should be able to vote for, like probably me.
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that Trump treated Jeb Bush on the campaign trail was just, you know, atrocious. I mean,
and then
you know,
Mike
it was
Pence.
so demeaning, and the way he treated Mike Pence, I certainly understand why they will not support or endorse him for another term.
Yeah.
Well, we run up against the end of the first segment, and we've got some ads we want to show you, and we'll be right back with you.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
My name is Wendy Wilson White. I'm a candidate for Hinds County Circuit Court Judge District 2. I was born here and I stayed here. I'm a graduate of Provine High School, Tougaloo College, and Mississippi College School of Law. I've been practicing law here in Jackson and Hinds County since 2001. I have 21 years of trial and courtroom experience, and for the past 8 years, I've been prosecuting crime. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge because I want to redefine justice. We don't deserve to feel unsafe on the streets of Jackson and Hinds County, and you don't deserve to see your families and loved ones killed. We deserve to have a judicial system we can all believe in, and you deserve to have a judge who will hold people accountable. People who live with mental illness deserve fair treatment from our judicial system. We need to educate our children about crime and how they will be held responsible for their actions. We deserve to see our children grow old. They should not be defendants or victims of crime at such early ages. You deserve a judge who is fair and impartial, experienced, and dedicated to the places you and I call home. I want to be the difference our city, county, and court deserve. On November 8th, I need your vote. Please vote Wendy Wilson White, www. Hinds County Circuit Court Judge, District 2.
The Mississippi Link an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippi.link.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We want to remind you, too, only 13 days left till voting day.
So we want to be mindful of that. Got a story here, Mr. Garrett. I know, we've so much on the local level, but just trying to get through this national. Vice President Harris and the EPA Administrator Michael Regan announcing a new clean bus grants for all 50 states, plus D.C. and the tribal schools. They're going to start out with $1 billion installment. Ultimately, it's going to be $5 billion. And they're saying that 95% are going to be electric buses. Now, I don't know what that would mean, though, for Mississippi, because, do we have the infrastructure, do we have the charging stations? Do we have the ability to, I think with the J-Tran, some of those buses are electric, aren't they?
Oh, I'm not sure. I doubt it very seriously. I haven't ridden a bus in so long, so I don't know if there are charging stations down there at the depot or not. But that's the way that the country is going, Chris. There will be charging stations installed throughout this entire city and county in the upcoming months. And so we're just going to have to get ready for the transition.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to give up my muscle car, that I enjoy trying to.
The weekend.
On the weekends,
Yeah.
and burn a little rubber and hit the track and see what time we can make. And so all those days are going to be things in the past. Most of your vehicles now, even though they are fuel operated, they are more electrical than mechanical. So your traditional mechanics can't work on your diesel engines anymore. And so, you have to have a whole new set of skills.
Brave new world.
Brave new world.
Skipping down into the state of Mississippi, 14 people. You'd be shocked to learn this. 14 people in Marshall and DeSoto counties arrested and charged with conspiracy to fraudulently obtain government funds, payroll protection program. Different federal agencies caught these guys. They're reading a long article this morning about it. But 14 folks now. I can't help but wonder if that's just the tip of the iceberg of people that may have taken good advantage of that payroll protect, those PPP loans.
Well, I tell you, it was really quite necessary because the economy was tanking and Americans were hurting. And so I applaud the Biden administration for the programs that he put in place to try to stabilize the economy and try to make certain that those businesses that were losing their people or weren't able to maintain their people because their doors were closed. Your restaurant industry got hit hard. Your construction industry got hit hard. And so, and most industries got hit hard. And so I applaud the program and the design and the effect for it. Now, I don't care what program it is or what you do, there will always be those cowboys out there that will attempt to take advantage of the program.
Advantage. Yeah.
And so I'm certain that this is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was pretty much an honor program.
Yeah.
In terms of how you enroll.
Yeah. Well, God bless them. We just found out today, longtime downtown Jackson restaurant and live entertainment venue, Hal and Mal's, going to change hands. It had been sold by Malcolm White to the folks that are fairly new owners of Campbell's Bakery up in Fondren, Damien and Mary Kavicki, I'm going to say. I hope I'm not mispronouncing it.
Yeah.
But they're going to take over on November 1st. And, so the White family has had that for 37 years. And, when you go and look on the walls in there, I like to go down there sometimes on Monday evenings to hear the blues. And some of the artists that they've had in there, Mr. Garrett, just the top-notch artists, not only from Mississippi, but around the world, have been to Hal and Mal's. Their pictures are on the wall with autographs, and it's kind of a special place. And I know these folks have already said that they want to continue just exactly the way Jackson residents have, enjoyed for a long time to come. They plan on expanding the weekend hours a bit because those have kind of tailed off. But so anyway, big development there.
Well, Hal and Mal's is a staple in the Jackson community.
Yeah.
And, as you said, some of the best artists and celebrities have come through there. And, of course, they were the signature sponsor of the parades,
Right.
and things of that nature in Jackson. And so it's sad to see that take place. We have to support our local businesses and our local folk that are trying and have made a difference. But if they felt like it was time to get out, then that's what you have to do. But Jackson is being revived in many ways, Chris. The tremendous activity that's going on in Fondren. You're mentioning now that Fondren, in fact, is expanding down to Hal and Mal's in terms of that territory. Right across the street from Martin's, that I like to go and have some
Chicken.
I love that redfish burger that they have down there.
Yeah.
And so Jackson is seeing some growth in European population throughout the city in this area. I think that's very positive.
And the new tech district, of course, is coming on. And then, of course, everybody's talking about this one lake is back on the table. And I was talking to one real estate person who I know you know, and I said, hey, can you please tell me there's going to be good, solid development that's going to help us on the Hinds County side of the river? And he said, absolutely. He said, I feel certain of it.
Well, I served on the levee board for 8 years. And so I understand the debate and the struggle that we've had with flood protection. But, Mississippi, and especially, in the Hinds County, in the metropolitan area here, we've struggled with things far longer than we should have. I guess it's true for the whole state. But there was a tremendous flood in 1979, a flood again in 1983. Then, of course, recently we had this tremendous flood. And we're not able to come together on a flood protection plan. Originally, it was 2 lakes, and there was a lot of dispute and arguments about who was going to benefit from selling the land where the 2 lakes was going to lie. And so, that got canned. Then it was reduced. The footprint was reduced down to 1 lake, and it's struggling. But I thought I read recently that the Corps had committed several $1 million
to study, to actually put the plan together of how they would go about doing it.
So are we moving forward with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least their study of it.
Well, I thought we
$200
beyond
million.
the study part. We ought not have a cost of $200 million to study something.
I think the plan. I said study. What the details of putting the plan together.
I think we need to turn dirt. So we need to be in a position now where we've solved all of the issues with all of the environmental groups that are protecting various animals and turtles and things of that nature. We solved those issues. Then we had to solve the issues with the flooding downstream of the 1 lake plan.
Right.
That's critically important. And it's time for us to purchase land and to turn some dirt. Now, interestingly enough, the one question becomes, where is the 1 lake located? Is it in Hinds County? Is it in Jackson? Or is it in Rankin County? Because if you have the development along the waterways that you anticipate, 1 lake's called for you to have restaurants and hotels out in the middle of the river. And so then it gets to be a really interesting question. Whose tax zone is that now? And how that's going to be resolved. So it's a lot of things that need to be worked out, but we ought to be beyond studying, and we should be turning dirt.
Another shooting earlier today, 2 different shootings.
Wow.
Only 1 hour apart. One was Terry Road near Winter Street. Not positive where Winter Street is. And the second one was 45 minutes later, Creston Avenue and Gretchen Street. So
Wow.
there's no information available beyond that, and hopefully we'll learn more about that later tonight, maybe with the evening news. Who knows?
Well, we had shootings yesterday, and it was very troubling because it was first listed as a school shooting down at Provine High School. Apparently, the front of the school did get shot up a bit and received some firing, but it wasn't an incident of someone shooting or trying to kill someone in the school.
No students were injured in any way.
Yeah, it was a drive-by. It wasn't a drive-by shooting. It was two vehicles shooting at one another, and some of the stray bullets hit the school. But, you know, anytime you hear on the news that the bullets have been fired on Provine High School, it takes us back to Mississippi's history. And, Chris, you probably don't know this, but the very first school shooting occurred right here in Mississippi over in Rankin County.
Yeah.
The very first one.
Yeah.
And so, once again, we lead the way in areas that we ought not be leading.
And speaking of that, a senior at Provine High School died last Thursday in a car crash. And you know, I looked at the article, Mr. Garrett, and you see her picture, 18 years old, senior at Provine. She was going out to took the mother's car. The mother sent her out to go do a certain errand and then pick up the little sister or something like that. And 2 hours later, the little sister called home, asked the mother, where's she at? She never come and pick me up. And down on Terry Road and Donna Street, or what have you, 18-year-old Shamiria Smith. They said the car was barely recognizable. Just such sad news. Somebody such a young age.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's happening all over the country. You know, my heart goes out to the folk in St. Louis. The young lady's photo that I saw, there was a beautiful young lady, so much life, so vibrant.
Got to research these car crashes. And
Yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of car crashes in Mississippi. I
Yeah.
got to see where we stand in relation to the other
Yeah,
states.
and it always has been a tactic, even with car crashes. You know, it used to be that if someone hits you from behind, you can't stop, because that was one of the tactics for being robbed.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we live in different times, Chris.
Yeah, they say that's what happened to her. She was hit from behind at the intersection.
Hit from behind at the intersection, then kidnapped. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Well, the last story we got on the list for today, Mr. Garrett, is college game day rolling into Jackson. That'll be a huge boon. There's a couple hundred people just to put on that college game day show. So there's going to be an enormous influx of people coming in for this Saturday's 1 p.m. game at the Vet against Southern. So, and this will be JSU. This is the final regular season home game. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, you have one correction there, Chris. I guess the shooting was down by JSU near Stamps Restaurant.
Oh.
So we appreciate the information from you, Chris.
Okay.
So, game day. Jackson had a super weekend last weekend with the homecoming.
And safe.
And it was safe. And you know, some idiot scheduled 5 homecomings at the same weekend, which deprived a lot of people. Alcorn's homecoming, Valley's homecoming, Jackson State's homecoming, Belhaven's homecoming was all at the same time, same weekend. And so a lot of people who wanted to be here, would have been here, could not. And maybe that's a good thing because we didn't have the space.
Yeah.
And so, but Deion Sanders has turned this city upside down as it relates to athletics and football, and the fans are very, very excited, and they're supporting Jackson State in a way that demands a 60,000-seat stadium.
Now, they said last weekend they were sold out at 51,000 plus.
Well, yeah, and you can always bet if that's the count, you got 10% higher than that for sure, 10 to 20% higher than that of those that didn't pay. You know how you used to get in, Chris?
Yeah.
Those who didn't pay and those who own staff and all of the dignitaries and et cetera, et cetera. So I understand that Snoop Dogg was in town and Michael Strahan was in town.
Yeah.
And
Rick Ross.
Rick Ross.
Yeah.
So it was just one hell of a weekend, and congratulations to Jackson State.
And I just bought my ticket an hour ago, $34 and change just for general admission. But I just love to sit up there and see I don't have a bestest view as some of the higher priced tickets, but I just love being there and being in the atmosphere.
Well, I think we're getting a call. I don't know if I see the headset. This one here.
Hello.
Caller, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Caller, can you hear us?
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you all, but I can't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to call in and speak briefly on the issue. Mr. Garrett, I want to first and foremost thank you for how you upload your videos often, so people can go back and review them, because the way that I work, sir, I don't always get to catch our live. So I appreciate you for doing that. And I ran into one last night that, it's on one of the other shows, and I didn't know if I need to call in with you and Mr. Henderson, because this is geared more to what y'all talk about.
Right.
Or should I just call the first chance I get?
Yeah.
So I choose to do the latter.
Yeah, Henderson and I will be on
So,
tonight,
on last night I was watching the show with Brent Hazard, and he had the guy Marcus Johnson on. And I wanted to just speak on how the city of Jackson are filled with agents. And when I say agents, I'm not talking about agents for good. Because when the caller last night called in, he was allowing people to call in. And when a caller called in, he told them about the garbage contract and everything. They was talking about that. And someone posted that the waste management was ran by a tag. And he said, hold on, let me stop it right there, because I don't think that's true. The contract was with a black guy, and I think he mentioned the guy that you were actually going to be working with when you had the potential contract, Mr. Garrett. But then he said, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure. So, by him speaking like that, he's confusing people.
Right.
And I don't know if that's on purpose or what, but I would like to, if I was my guess, I'd say it's on purpose.
Okay.
Because how you going to say Waste Management did not have that contract for 35 years?
Yeah.
But I just said, it's people like him that I think they confuse the general public, along with the city councilman, Mr. Stokes. And I know some of these are your friends, Mr. Garrett. I don't mean to take shots like that, but I'm just being honest. I'm a citizen of Ward 2, and I grew up in Ward 3. And Ward 3 looks the same as it did 30 years ago when I was living there.
Carla, I want to thank you for calling. We're running out. And it doesn't matter whether you're friends or family. We got to now stand on principle and what's right. And so we're going to make that stand. So thanks for calling, and I look forward to talking to you on the Henderson Show.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Good evening. Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Garrett, there was one viewer that had asked about what does it mean when you take the consent decree off that that Hanley, and what they really said is 10 years ago, it was inhumane and unconstitutional practices in the way these people were being held at the detention center. And that's when it went under the federal consent decree. And what you're really saying is you people, the way you're doing business, it's not up to standards. And so we're everything you do from here on out in all these different areas is going to be scrutinized, and you got to run it before us. Well, just today they've lifted this consent decree that's been in place for 10 years. And we had a viewer that was asking about that.
Well, it's something that we need to follow very closely. I know that the detention center in Raymond was just taken over by the federal government.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if they're lifting the consent decree at the juvenile detention center, that's something that we need to take a close look at. Now, I know that Marshawn Chrysler is the new director down there, and if he's been able to do something so significant in this short period of time that allows them to lift that, then we need to get him on this show and let him explain how he did it.
Wonderful. Okay. Very good. Well, we thank you for tuning in today, and we look forward to coming back to you at 2 p.m. on Friday afternoon. And have a good afternoon, a good evening, and stay safe out there.